Good morning, everyone. So before we actually officially begin, I want to remind everyone that this is a simultaneous translation event. So when you do your presentations or ask a question, can you remember that it's being translated, and to be very kind to those, our translators sitting in the booth back there, who, if you're up here at the podium or at the table, they will sort of wave panic signs to slow down if you need to slow down. Okay. So again, good morning and welcome, everyone. Good, we are awake. I would first like to thank you all for coming. I'm particularly grateful to those who've traveled significant distances and for those who had to very quickly devise alternative modes of transport along the Northeast Corridor. Now, all gatherings of this size are a collaboration. Yale's Office for International Affairs has offered advice, has offered guidance, and support at every stage. Everybody have their headphones? Yes, okay, excellent. Can you make it work, John? Is that okay? Oh, excellent. In particular, I'm very grateful to Don Filer, who's the executive director, João Alexo, and who's the associate director for Latin America, and Sheila Pastor, who's Associate Director for Leadership Programs and runs this center. She's been absolutely wonderful to us to make sure everything goes smoothly. Azur Begovic will be here all day to offer audio-visual support. Thank you, Azur. And to all the staff who, although they may be out of sight, should not be out of mind, for they ensure that our day proceeds smoothly. Indeed, last night when we were here setting up, there was an army of people sweeping stairs and desks, and after we've gone, they'll be clearing up after us. So I want us to thank them too. Although this colloquium originates with the Initiative on Race, Gender, and Globalization, we could not have organized it without the financial support of our co-sponsors, the Department of African American Studies, the Council on Latin American and Iberian Studies, and the program in Ethnicity, Race, and Migration. I would like to offer my immense gratitude to Professor Stephen Pitty, who is the director of ER&M, who has shared his enthusiasm, his excitement, and his vision for this colloquium from its very inception, and he's offered support in innumerable ways. Now, as all of you know, on every single email has been the name of the IRGG project assistant, initially Carlos Miranda, and since January, Aaron Greenberg. Aaron has been a dedicated partner in every single detail of planning and organization. Heather Vermeulen has been absolutely tireless in her translation work, particularly communications in Spanish for us. Thanks are also due to my graduate students in African American Studies who've agreed to volunteer their assistance. Andrew Dow, Fadila Habchi, Kanisha Passard, and later this afternoon, Ryan Jobson, if you just identify yourselves. If you need any assistance, please just ask them, and they will help. I would also like to recognize the intellectual generosity of Professors David Pello and Mabel Wilson, and my colleagues, Vesla Weaver, Stephen Pitty, Ned Blackhawk, Alicia Smith Camacho, and Michael Denning, who have agreed to come and share their work and offer their insights today. Thank you. Now, the seed for this colloquium was planted in my mind when I attended a conference on plurinationalism organized by Secretary Rene Ramirez and held in Quito in January of last year. It was my first encounter with the visionary constitution of Ecuador and with the concept of Sumak Kawsay. This was also the occasion where I met Professor Anton, who gave a keynote address on the history and current conditions of Ecuadorians of African descent. I am deeply grateful to both of you, Secretary Ramirez and Professor Anton, for agreeing to come to Yale University and engage us in conversation about what we can learn from Ecuador. Academia in the countries of the global north has been complicit in the colonization of knowledge, practicing and perpetuating Western ideas of modernity and development that have been integral to the maintenance and the domination of capitalist economies. Yet, here we are in 2013, burning fossil fuels like there is no tomorrow, even though we are inundated with the evidence of the destructive force of capitalist modernity and consumption without end. The ways in which we are living imperils life on this planet as we know it. Climate change, the increasing toxicity of our soils, the dire consequences of the acidity of our oceans, and the contamination of our water tables. Furthermore, in 2012, in the United States, the gap between the richest 1% and the remaining 99% was the widest it had been since the economic collapse of 1920. So much for progress and development. Sustainable development is an oxymoron. And I want to actually introduce the voices of people who we may forget and who certainly can't be here. What I call America's first climate refugees.
I heard about the climate change. We have an erosion problem.
This place is not even safe for a human being to live.
We have to move, because otherwise erosion will tear up our homes.
Sometimes I get scared, since I have kids.
If we don't have any plans to relocate, we would move to the urban life and never return. My tribe wouldn't exist anymore.
More than 180 native communities in Alaska are experiencing flooding and loss of land as ice melts. Exile is inevitable. But it is also from North America's indigenous peoples that the movement Idle No More has grown. Idle No More calls on all people to join their peaceful revolution, to honor indigenous sovereignty, and to protect the land and water. Is it not time that we turn away from our predatory civilization and engage other ways of living? Other ways of defining a good life that does not depend on the extraction of fossil fuels, does not exploit nature, and does not practice the politics of exclusion and domination. Sumak Kawsay describes alternative ways of being and imagining what should constitute a good life. How and from what roots could we develop ways of living that are in harmony with our environment? So my hope for today is that we together can theorize from the South. In what ways can Ecuador's thinking on social and environmental justice help scholars and activists in the US and abroad imagine good living? Can Ecuador's idea of state formation, plurinationalism, operate as an ethical imperative for including historically excluded peoples into public discourse? Lastly, is the United States ready to develop and engage innovative epistemologies and cosmologies to tackle economic, environmental, and social inequality? These are questions and not answers, but I hope they spur us to begin conversations that will not end with this colloquium today, but continue. When I sent an email of invitation to Nathalie Seeley, she responded instantly, with tremendous warmth, with enthusiasm and excitement, so much so that I felt I was being sent a digital hug. I am thrilled to introduce Ambassador Nathalie Seeley Suarez, Ecuador's ambassador to the United States, who will give the welcome address. Thank you.